pleasure of having here with me today Natalie Incorvaia. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. I'm very excited. Excited to meet you guys.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to meet you, and I'm just in awe and reverence of your artistic ability and even more of you as a human being and your intentions and your purity and your way of being and how that is reflected in your artwork. And how did you first discover that you were interested in art? How old were you?
Actually, I was thinking about that recently, kind of. I didn't really have great resources as a kid, like in classes or whatever, but I remember in elementary school we did a school-wide project where everyone had to do a life-size paper cut out of themselves and create what you wanted to be when you grew up. And I remember mine was an artist. I had a palette, like I drew a little palette on my person, and I'm not sure where that comes from, but I guess I've wanted to be it since I was little.
How old were you then?
It's probably like second grade, I would say.
So that was one of the illuminating points in your life.
I think so.
Did you take a lot of art in school?
Yeah, I always took it when I could, but it's in high school. The only reason I ended up taking it was because I didn't want to take theater, and the teacher was kind of intimidating, although she ended up being great, but so it was meant to be in that way. And I went to college just thinking, well, this is like the only thing I can think of that I would want to do, and I switched away from that just briefly for like a semester, and then came back and thought, well, the rest will work itself out, because I like nothing else is fitting.
So what is your vision with your art?
I want to be a studio artist. I want to make my living doing that. I want to make humongous paintings and have them in galleries and museums. But I also want it to be affordable for people that want it. I think a lot of times, like I know some of my professors kind of became like they look down upon art for like aesthetics' sake. And they want it to be this like unattainable thing that people can't have. But I would want it to be affordable for people who would want to pay for it. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. Mm-hmm. Even teaching yoga and doing physical therapy to help people, I always want and try to create ways that people who might not have the resources can receive.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
Absolutely.
So what is your intention with your art? You shared some of that with me, and I'd love you to share more.
Like my concept, I guess. Yes. There's a lot of layers behind it, but mostly on the surface I'm talking about, I think that there's a crisis in America, especially, I don't know about other countries, but especially America, in what we purchase, what we grow, first of all, using pesticides and chemicals and all that, and then what we purchase in stores, I feel like is a lie. Like there's a lot of marketing and advertising behind to attract people in, to like reel you in these pretty boxes, and then you open it and some of it tastes good, but it's not good for you, and then you just throw the packaging away, and it's about this like cycle, and it's a cycle that we do every day. I think I'm trying to talk about like the cycles that we do every day that are moot. There's a lot behind it, I guess.
In the art that you create, you said that you use some of the packaging or some of the contents of the processed food in your artwork.
Well, I try to replicated, I guess. I made corn pops out of like glue and glitter to represent like a glittery facade, I guess, but glitter's not edible, and that's where I was going with that. Yeah.
To show that message that it's can look pretty, like you said, but not be good for you.
Right, and it's also about my battle with, well, food for one thing is important, but it's symbolic of everything, of every temptation that we have, that we want, and it's so pretty, but it's not good for you, and it's only really going to harm you. And that facade that's there is fake. It's not representing something that's wholesome. You know, like the foods we're supposed to eat don't have packages. They just come out of the ground, out of the dirt, even. So I think that's a big part of it, is me figuring out my battles.
Do you feel comfortable to share a little more about that?
Sure. Well, food is one, and that's a shallow one, I guess. Of like, we all want what's not good for us, like, you know, the picking your poison thing, how some people have cigarettes and all that. I feel it's almost impossible not to have a vice. I guess other battles, you know, I'm tempted to be like, I guess kind of like callous about some things in life. Like, I just want to, it's not like it's too much effort to like care to put into a friendship or whatever, but it's worth it in the end. And I think that battle of picking what's right over instead of what's easy is another element of my art. I don't know if I can, I'm sure I learn things as I paint, and that's one of the incredible things about it that I hope my students and other people will understand through me, is that you learn so much about yourself if you're painting something that's conceptual, or even if it's not, probably. But I learn things as I paint, and learn things that I want to identify. I think another one is like probably confidence. I think I've revealed in my paintings that sometimes I have a lack of confidence when I know I shouldn't. And so that's not a temptation, but it's a battle, I think, between like being self-confident but not being egotistical.
Right. And I do love your philosophy that throughout life, choosing what's right instead of what's easy, that you're doing that in your artwork and what it represents, and that your artwork isn't just pretty, even though it is gorgeous, but it has a deeper meaning and things that it can reveal, and a message that it can give to help heighten awareness
Right.
of how people choose to live their lives.
Right. And I want it to convey that. I want it to attract people so that it's interesting. And I want it to be lighthearted enough that nobody feels like they're being judged. That's the worst thing, when somebody's looking at you and saying you're doing something wrong. But it's lighthearted, I feel, and humorous, because I like to use wordplay a lot and bold colors and all that. But I do want there to be a message there. And I think one of the ways I do that is the juxtaposition of like weird foods together. Like, why would somebody paint that? You know, there must be a reason why. And that's where that answer is, hopefully, to delve into.
And your goal is to be a teacher?
For a little while. I think sometimes I'm really competitive with myself. Like today, how I was swimming in the ocean, I had to touch the buoy. I knew like I had to go touch it before I could come back. Well, I think I have to know if I can be a good teacher. And it's my ultimate goal to be a studio artist. I don't know how common that is. Like, I don't know if people can make a living doing that or not, really, but that's my goal.
I think that's wonderful that you're going to include and take that time to teach, because you have so much to share and to inspire and deeper meaning in your work, and that can be an inspiration to young people.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I'd like to do that. I'd like to see, because, yeah, I believe that I can. I believe teachers are so powerful. I mean, kids spend 8 hours a day at school, right? Then they go home and do homework and eat and sleep. So, like, they spend most of their day at school. And although they wouldn't spend all day with me, I mean, my goal would be to be the teacher that they feel safe with and feel respected by, most importantly. I think a lot of the problems in kids today are, they're just not listened to. You know, they're dismissed. I don't know, that's what I think.
It's a wonderful opportunity to inspire young people. And so the name of your studio art is Providence. Yeah. Tell me about that, the meaning of that for you.
Okay, well, that derived after I graduated from undergrad, where I got a BFA in painting, a Bachelor of Fine Art. I came home and lived at home for a year, and it was also after the end of like a really painful relationship. It was a brief but very painful relationship, and a lot of my plans changed, and I came home and I was like lost. So, I mean, yeah, I didn't really know what to do next, basically my next step, and I was struggling emotionally, and you know, it just occurred to me that so many of the things in my life, and not just my life, but I look at other people's lives, and God's hand is so much in it, and His providence, and His providing for us. And even if it's not the way you think that you should be provided for, it is. I mean, He got me out of a situation I didn't know I was in. I didn't know it was a bad situation. I mean, logically I didn't. My like emotions did, like my anxiety did, but so that was, and it wasn't, I didn't name it just because of that situation, but just reflecting on my life and how paramount His providence in my life has been, and that it's everything is okay, and I don't ever want to push, like, it's not really a religious thing. I don't want to ever push religion on someone and put them away from my work thinking that it's religious per se. But I don't want to not do it either. It's what I believe, and it's, I think, why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's why I'm here in Monhegan Island, because God knew I needed this. You know?
And everyone has gifts, and that's reflected in different ways, and sometimes even, you know, whether it's a rejection or something painful, sometimes I believe that can be God helping to protect us even when things don't turn out what we want isn't always what we need to help our spirit evolve.
Absolutely.
To shine God's light the brightest in our life, or to serve others.
That's what I want to do. I want to show His light the best way I can, without ever putting anyone away from it. And this is the best way I know how right now, is through my art, and just trying to pay attention to like little nudges. Like lately, well, actually it's kind of funny, because the person that I was referring to, that was so painful relationship, he was actually a wonderful listener. I mean, that's kind of a weird combination, but he was a great listener, and it made me be really aware of like how many people interrupt each other and just they don't listen. It's everywhere, and I'm striving so hard to be a better listener and be present with someone. And
So that relationship helped
Yeah.
you to appreciate that. And
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
I totally believe that every friendship, every family member, every relationship can teach us more about ourselves and also what we want and what we don't want in healthy relationships.
Yeah.
So it's a gift.
Yep. Definitely. Oh, I hear little socks over there. We should let them out here.
Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. I hope
And
that I gave you information. It's valuable.
very, very valuable.
Good.
Many beautiful messages, and I wish you all the best of luck. And we're definitely going to be following you and your evolution and your gifts. And I think it's awesome that you're sharing your gifts, your passions, and creating and making beautiful things happen. And I absolutely love your website. Excuse me. And we will definitely share that with the world. Providence Studio Art by Natalie
Incorvaia.
At www.providencestudioart.com. Right? Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Oh,
Yes.
So I was thinking about, this is Natalie again, by the way, the next morning. I was thinking about the video that we did, the interview, and one part of it I feel wasn't entirely accurate. I said that some other temptations that I encounter besides wanting processed and junk food is that I have to battle with putting effort into friendships, and that isn't entirely accurate. I think what I meant to say, or what I meant deeply, was that I, alongside everyone else, I always struggle, not even struggle, I just recognize that it's harder to do the better thing. And I see a lot of people just take the easy road with relationships even, and okay, there it is. I don't ever want to take the easy road in a relationship, whether it's friendship or romantic or like mother-daughter, whatever. I think the easy way is to not talk about things that are difficult. And I think my battle is, do I put effort into talking something out, even though it's like, ugh, who wants to do this? Who wants to dredge up all this emotional baggage and talk about it? Or do we just sweep it under the rug, which would be the easier thing, but not necessarily the better thing? And that's probably what I meant by that, putting effort into things that, like, do we really want to? But in order to have a quality relationship with someone, you have to do that sometimes.
I agree. The more you reveal of yourself and share your vulnerabilities, and when someone can hold and honor the space for you to share all of yourself, your fears, your vulnerabilities, then and you have the courage to share those, and when those are received and honored, that shows that that's a friend, that's a person that you want to be close to, and it brings you closer to them when someone honors how you really feel and where you're at in this moment in your life.
Yeah.
And it almost makes you love yourself even more. It is loving yourself even more when you have that courage to be vulnerable.
Yeah, it takes so much courage. It does.
It does.
It's difficult. I think it's an intentional thing too, to decide to be that way with people, but invulnerable. But yeah, that's what I was thinking, and I just felt my wording was not lending to what I really wanted to say.
So you were referring to, putting the effort into friendships, and that you believe that you are a wonderful, devoted friend,
Yeah,
caring.
I
Really.
love. I don't feel like I have. There's different levels of friendships, right? People who are your besties and people who you might get dinner in a group together, but it doesn't go further than that. And that's great. I think those people are great, but I mostly try to have just a few good close friends, and I feel like I go above and beyond because I love it. I try so hard. I love gift giving and really trying to think of what somebody really wants and listening to them so that I can give them something that makes them feel good and know I listen. But not just gift giving, but being supportive, but also being honest with a friend is so important. I'm not going to support my best friend if she's doing something I don't agree with, and I'll just tell her that.
Right, being able to be honest.
Yeah.
And you help that person, and then you don't harbor ill
And I love her
yourself.
enough to do that for her.
I love that kind of friend. That's the kind of friend that I want.
Yeah, it's the kind of friend everybody needs, right?
So sometimes, what is your resistance to trying to get close to people?
That is a good question. I'm more reserved by nature, I think.
So you have to put in extra effort.
Yeah, it literally doesn't occur to me sometimes to share parts of my life with even my closest friend. Or I share a little bit, but not my inner thoughts on it. I have a diary for that.
That's awesome.
And I pray. I have a spiritual life, which I'd like to pray more.
Me too. I think of my life as a living, moving prayer.
Yeah, the whole there's a verse in the Bible about praying constantly, and I think that's what it means. Just in everything you do, honor God and what He's given you. It's just astounding, the abundance that we have.
It really is. And to be in that gratitude and that grace and that divine flow.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Thank you, Natalie.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad we found each other so I could
I'm going to have
edit what I said.
come back to Mohegan Island this summer and hang out with you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'll be here till at least Columbus Day, October
Very
10th,
cool.
I think. So.
Thank you for sharing
Of course. It's such an honor to meet you guys.
Thank you, Natalie.